So with Lost Ark coming out in the West, will it kill off the other Korean MMORPGs we have on the market? This is something a lot of people have been talking about, mainly because Blade Soul, Black Desert, kind of the top Korean MMORPGs have been losing a lot of their player base due to people hopping onto Lost Ark. Of course, people are going to try it out and play the game because it's new, it's an MMO, it's hyped up. It's been hyped up for years over in Korea, so of course people are going to jump in when it comes out in the West. But will it maintain those players and keep them away from these other Korean MMORPGs and become basically the top one in the West? So first off, one thing about Lost Ark, kind of the main selling point for me, is just how well the combat is, and that's something that I really realized Korean MMORPGs do very well. Blade Soul's combat is tier 1, A1, amazing. Black Desert combat, again, amazing. Lost Ark's combat is amazing. These are all things that really Korean MMORPGs really get right. If they don't get anything else right, they get the combat right. It always feels very good. And it's really just kind of the main reasons why I've been enjoying Lost Ark, going through killing tons of enemies over and over. And I feel like that's a lot of reasons why people are hopping into the game from these Korean MMORPGs, because they feel the same. If you play like New World or something when it came out in the West compared to Black Desert, they're two different worlds. Like, they're two different games. Even though they're both MMOs, really they don't play the same at all. The combat is just so totally different. The graphics are so totally different. With Lost Ark, it has the Korean anime type graphics, at least for the character models, and then of course you have the amazing combat. The only thing I will say that keeps kind of maybe players on the edge, of course, is the camera angle, how it is kind of more similar to Path of Exile or Diablo, and the fact that the game is click to move. This is something I had to get used to, mainly because I played Black Desert, Blade and Soul, all these games you don't move with the mouse button. Moving with the mouse button is kind of a foreign thing for me, and was really kind of weird to get used to. But after a couple hours, it really wasn't a problem, and even the isometric view point of your character is not even that bad. Again, I've gotten used to it after a few hours of playing. So will this Korean MMORPG take the player base from the other games permanently? I do feel like over time there will be a lot of people who are playing Lost Ark for the first couple months, maybe for 2 or 3 months, or even just a month, will eventually go back to Black Desert or Blade and Soul. Mainly more Black Desert, because Blade and Soul has been on a heavy decline already for years now, where Black Desert has been maintaining a pretty healthy population with the releases of their season servers, helping players gear up. On Steam, they usually keep around 15k to 25k players. And then of course you have the client, where even myself, my account is based on the client and not on Steam. There's a lot of players over on there too, so you have to kind of add both up. Probably around 40k to 50k concurrent players on Black Desert. I definitely do believe Lost Ark coming out in the West has been a threat to these other Korean MMOs on the marketplace right now, because if you think about it, there hasn't been any competition for the West for Korean MMORPGs in a very long time. Blade Soul came out in January 2016 for the West, and Black Desert came out, I think it was like March 2016. It came out a few months after Blade Soul, and those were like the two hyped up Korean games over from Korea that came over to the West in 2016. Everyone was playing either Blade Soul or Black Desert, or even both, like myself. And really for, the past couple of years, there hasn't been another Korean MMORPG that's came out that's been even relevant in any way in terms of population or any threat to these games. But with Lost Ark commanding such a heavy, strong player base, being more popular than Blade Soul and Black Desert over in Korea, coming over to the West is definitely a threat to these games. And I do feel like they will still a pretty strong amount of the player base. Again, not everyone's going to stick around, and people will return back to the game that they're comfortable with. People are very hooked to games like Black Desert. Even myself, I come back to it every couple months just to check it out, see the new content. Again, also there's other outlining things that don't even pertain to Lost Ark, like if Black Desert is putting out steady good content, if Blade Soul is putting out steady good content. Black Desert especially has not delivered on a lot of content that they have promised the community, and really that's a deciding factor on why people, of course, are not going to be so happy with the game and sticking with it. If Black Desert was steady putting out really good content, then people would probably be more reluctant to actually leave the game. They probably wouldn't want to leave it so easily. But with Lost Ark coming out and being this big hit, having over 1 million concurrent players after a week of release, it's really the hot topic. But personally for me, I'm sticking with Lost Ark at the moment. I'm having the most fun with it. It's kind of the hyped up game right now. Everyone's playing it. It's free to play. It has all the Korean check marks that I love about Black Desert and Blade and Soul. Of course, do I wish it had the camera angle of Black Desert? I do wish that. But, again, after a few hours, as I said, you get used to this isometric view. It's not really that bad. And it kind of works with how the game is portrayed with the cutscenes and the story. It's not that big of a deal with the zones and everything. It works pretty well. So I'm sticking with it. As someone who's played both Black Desert and Blade and Soul for years, it has hooked me, and I feel like it will do the same for a lot of players, as it really does scratch the itch for that Korean market. It really does hit that list of all the things you want from a Korean MMORPG. Of course, there is a little bit of steady pay to win in it, but in my opinion, it's not more or less than Black Desert, and it's definitely less than Blade and Soul. From playing Blade and Soul, very pay to win, so it's definitely less than that. So I mean, not really a problem for me, at least. But that's really the video. I just wanted to kind of share my thoughts on how I feel Lost Ark will impact these player bases for these Korean MMORPGs. Again, you'd be lying to yourself if you're saying that there's no threat to these games, because Lost Ark is definitely a threat to them. Will they completely eradicate their player bases? Of course not. There's going to be people still sticking with Black Desert and Blade and Soul, of course. But there's definitely a lot of people from those games playing Lost Ark right now. And we'll see how the future is for these other games. And at least for myself, I'm having a lot of fun. So let me know in the comments below what you guys think about this. Do you think Lost Ark will keep stealing players from these Korean MMORPGs? And how long do you think they'll stay with Lost Ark, or if they'll go back to, you know, the game that they're comfortable with? Let me know in the comments below how you guys feel about this. Just wanted to bring this topic up, as it's just an interesting concept to me. We haven't had a big Korean MMORPG come out in a very long time. It's interesting to see how the player base are shifting from each game. So again, let me know in the comments below. Appreciate you guys watching the video as always, and I'll see you guys in the next one real soon.